We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
Our vision in this interim government is to make ABC a leader and a real war horse of our struggle. We want to grow it, expand it, hire and train more hands, and broadcast round the clock, around the world, and take command of the media space of this world.
You can enjoy all round the clock, 24/7 exclusive moments of bliss as an ABC Amber TV Club member. A cappella. Latest Nigerian/African movies, global politics, ABC Amber News and updates, historical documentaries, and lots more. In our daily programs, we have Undaunted, ABC Amber News, bringing into the news untold stories with Onyi Okpala and Star Smart. Exclusive discussion, revolutionary panel conversation, infotainment, edutainment, intro governmental debates on topical issues with Tar Paddy King, State of the Liberation Movement, Fronting IG and People of Ambazonia's position, the Struggles Weekly Update with Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, FASC. Health is Wealth, Health Education and Awareness within the Ambazonian community with Dr. Yaya. Liberation Prayer, an intercessory ministry for Ambazonia with Pastor Victor Mba. Our Freedom, spiritual awareness and education for the Ambazonian community with Pastor Victor Mba and Pastor Commando. Church and Politics, neutralizing the myths and preconceived religious and political philosophies that limit the Christian involvement in the realms of decent politics with Pastor Commando. The Horizon, the voice of the Ambazonian woman with Dr. Patience Abiedo and Lady Casey. Our Amber History, bringing to limelight the hidden history of Ambazonia to the world with Pastor Commando. Appointment on community building, education on patriotism within the Ambazonian communities with Ma Rachel Itatima. Ethics for an Emerging Nation, watchdog of basic principles and morals of a nation at war with Ma Dorothy Ngwa. Upcoming programs: Pigeon News, Vernacular Talk Show, County Roots, Activists Corner, Amber Focus, only on ABC Amber Television. We the people, the voice of the voiceless. For 24/7 access, subscribe as a club member on www.abcambertv.com/subscribe.
Good evening, fellow Ambazonians, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to this very important roundtable discussion that we'll be having with like minds of the interim government. I would say scholars and legal minds. And with me to anchor this program is a very diligent co-host, Ma Rachel Itatima. You're all aware of her. Good morning and welcome, Ma Rachel.
Good morning, Director Paddy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, fellow Ambazonians. Wherever you're watching us from, you're welcome on this wonderful, memorable day. It's my pleasure to anchor with our Director Paddy on this very special day where we have, wow, I will not say it. Just wait and listen for yourself. Once again, I greet you all and I'm honored to be on the panel. Thank you very much, Director Paddy.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to host with you. We have, unfortunately, we will not be having Dr. Yaya for reasons beyond her control, I quote. But we are definitely going to be having Barrister Tim Biseha, Barrister Fru Johnson, and Professor Ayim Martin, And these gentlemen are, oh yeah, good evening, gentlemen, and you are, or good afternoon. I think it's afternoon in Ambazonia. It should be at least 37 minutes after 3 p.m. in Boya and in Abakwa town. I want to say welcome.
Thank you, Paddy.
Thank you. Good morning,
Yeah,
Indonesian.
Great,
For
greetings
receiving
to you
us.
all, our baristas and our profs. I greet you. I have the
Thank you.
pleasure to greet you all on this memorable occasion. Yeah.
Thank you.
yes,
Thank you.
Marasha, I would perhaps you take the lead to usher them in. Maybe we should usher Barrister through first of all. He might not be ending the program with us because
Okay.
I made understand that by 5 p.m. Amber time he should be leaving the set. But you want to cue him in, please. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Director Padi. Thank you once again, Barrister Besha, Barrister So, and Prof. Aim. You are very much welcome to this day where Amazonians must be sitting tight to their desk again, probably certainly knowing the reason why we should hold programs like this from their national TV, ABC TV, and from their interim government, the place where we have always said that this is where they should get their information right if they want to stay at the right side of history. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we have some talking points. Let me just give a rundown on how our people should follow us with the program. Ladies and gentlemen, everywhere you are listening to us, we have four major talking points for you today. And how we are going to run them down is we are going to start off with Barrister So, and he's going to do a short presentation on this program. While after the presentation, Barrister Besha and Prof. Ayin are going to give their own points of view. They are going to do a contribution. They are going to give an input to what Barrister So is going to be telling us. And I don't know, the Director Padi, is there room for telephone calls to come in during the Q and A, or is it just like that?
I think
So the audience,
we may have we may be taking calls towards the end so that since it's more of an educational program, we want to give opportunity for the people to learn, and at the end they can call to share their diverse opinions.
okay, fine. Thank you. So, fellow viewers, you have just gotten it. The panel will be opened for you. Just listen keenly, get your pen, get your paper, and be jotting down whatever thing you think is not clear to you, what you really want to know online from your bright legal minds, and you are going to get it. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. Let's get kicked off. It is a bone, like a bone in the neck, really, as an Amazonian, to be talking on the eve of a dreadful day, 20th May. But because of the courageous men and women that we are supposed to pull through thick and thin, through water, through fire, through whatever elements, through wind, we are supposed to pull through. We will not drown, we will not be burnt, we will not be blown away. We are strong as the pillar that God has made us to be. So please, ladies and gentlemen, Barrister, so I'm going to start off with you with this. The people will want to
Madam
know
Moderator,
this. Yes, sir.
Madam Moderator, if you don't mind it,
Yes, sir.
can we start off a minute of silence for our fallen heroes, please?
That's fine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We honor this day from the beginning of Southern Cameroon's up to this time, wheresoever they lost their life for this cause that we are about to discuss, let's give a minute of silence. Thank you very much, Prof. The minute begins now. And may the souls of the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace and in power in the bosom of our Lord Jesus Christ, where we shall meet to part no more. Amen.
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 Yes, thank you very much, Prof, for that
Uh,
input. Thank you very
I
much.
think the floor is all yours.
Yes. Barrister, thank you very much. I will start with you by, we would love to hear from you the history of Southern Cameroon's, aka Ambazonia, before 20th May 1972. What has happened, what was happening in Southern Cameroon before 1972, 20th May. And in the part B of that question of this session, you will be telling us and what are equally the impact of this 20th May 1972 on Southern Cameroon, aka Ambazonia. You will go ahead and discuss, and we will equally listen on this talking points from Barrister Besha and Prof. Ayin. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, our host, Ma Rachel and Paddy King. Um, it's a very tall assignment for me this morning. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I want to start by saying that Professor Bridget Tebo very professionally presented the 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 the, the press paper of the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, where she exposed the history of the Southern Cameroons. So I'm going to take it not very detailedly, following what her presentation this morning. It was a rerun this morning. Now, the Germans were defeated in World War I by the Allied forces. And as a result of that, the Germans lost their territory in Africa and in other places of the world. And there was partitioning of the former German colonies on the African continent in the Berlin Conference. As a result of that, Cameroon, spelled with a K, that stretch both from Cameroon and the Congo and the Gabon and Equatorial Guinea and all that were all under the German territory, the German colonies. So Cameroon was partitioned into two. 80% went to the French and 20% to the British, partners in the Allied forces. We were the 20% that went to the British. And after 1945, when the British had already partitioned us into two, having the northern Cameroon cut off from the southern Cameroons, the southern Cameroons became a trust territory. It was under the colonial British rule from after the World War, but after 1945, they became a Class B trust territory, mandated by the United Nations under the British. In 1954, our people, having been attached to Nigeria for purposes of governance, the British separated us from Nigeria based on the treatment we got from Enugu Parliament. And we became a self-rule territory mandated by the British. And we became self-rule from 1954. And the first premier that was elected was Dr. EML Ndele. And after that, I'm just giving the headlines. After that, Dr. John Go Poncha defeated Dr. EML Ndele in 1959 to become the second premier, prime minister. And in that same 1959, on the 10th of July, there was the Manfred Conference to prepare us for independence. Because according to the resolutions of the United Nations General Assembly, and I'm not going to bore you with the legal terminologies of all those, but I will cite the resolution 1514, 1542, and 1608. But I will be dwelling mostly on 1608. But before that, Manfred Conference took place, and the questions that were to be decided by the population or the representatives of the population, and those representatives came from Parliament, from the House of Chiefs, and from opinion leaders in the southern Cameroons, and they met in a conference in Manfred to debate the issue of our independence, whether we want to become independent or we want to become independent by joining Nigeria. The question of the southern Cameroon was never at issue in that conference. Our people voted unanimous, very, very, very highly, I think 67%, for us to have our independence. In that conference, there was a British diplomat that represented the British in that conference to ensure that the conference went smoothly. Dr. John Poncha now traveled to the United Nations with the results of that conference. And hey, for some reason, for some fraudulent reason between the French and the British, what happened? Dr. John Poncha returned with the two alternatives that met the reason for the 11th of February plebiscite. And emphasized plebiscite, not referendum, because we were not part of La République du Cameroon. We have never been part of La République du Cameroon. So it was a plebiscite to ask the opinion of our people, whether we want to join Nigeria or want to join Cameroon when we have our independence. And I tell you, that was not what was decided in Manfred. And the mistake that was done by our people was that they didn't take that two alternative to the Southern Cameroon Parliament to look at it and see whether we accept it or we don't accept those two alternatives. But John Poncha came back happy. Oh, we have an opportunity to join our brothers. What a tragedy. At any rate, on 11th of February 1961, there was a plebiscite. That plebiscite was decided that we will join, after independence, we will join La République du Cameroon to actualize our independence. So independence was now voted for by the General Assembly of the United Nations on the 21st of April 1961 in what we commonly refer to now as Resolution 1608. At that time, if you read that resolution of the General Assembly in its Article 1, 2, and 3 and following, we were granted independence by joining. And that independence was voted for 64 rather, for, 23 against, and 10 abstentions. And it was voted, and we had independence by joining La République du Cameroon. And in that same resolution, there were conditions for joining. Because we were now an independent country, we were now going to have conditions, the policies that will be applied between La République du Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons. Hey, what happened? That was enshrined in paragraph 5 of that resolution 1608. That conference didn't take place and has not taken place up to this time that we are talking. something happened. They called the Manfred Conference, the Fumban Conference. And that Fumban Conference, yielded no fruits, no document was signed, no agreement was agreed. But on the 1st of September 1961, La République du Cameroon, in its own parliament, the parliament of the east of La République du Cameroon, as it then was, voted the federal constitution. That federal constitution was retroactively applied to the southern Cameroons by Amadou Ahidjo after October 1961, or on the day effective on the 1st of October 1961, without it being ratified by the Southern Cameroon's parliament, because when we had our autonomy, semi-autonomy from the British, we maintained a parliament, a government in the Southern Cameroons. Of course, with its limitations of defense and foreign affairs, because those were reserved for the British. What happened? That federal constitution was never presented to the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia for ratification. Ahidjo retroactively a constitution that was voted and promulgated on the 1st of September 1961, when we were still under the British rule, was applied to us on the 1st of October 1961, retroactively, against the law and against natural justice. At any rate, on the 30th of September, that same year, 1961, La République du Cameroon moved its gendarmes and its military into Boya, Bamenda, and all the strategic points in the southern Cameroon, and took over the southern Cameroon by force, breaking 1st of October, our Independence Day. On that Independence Day, the British betrayed the southern Cameroons by bringing down the Union Jack, and instead of handing it to Poncha, who was then the premier, elected premier by the Southern Cameroon's House of Assembly, they presented it instead to Ahidjo instead of to Poncha, selling us to La République du Cameroon. From there on, La République du Cameroon called us West Cameroon and called themselves East Cameroon. In that same constitution, they had on their own partitioned us West Cameroon and themselves East Cameroon. There we still had some kind of autonomy because our parliament was still maintained, our resources were still maintained, our economic infrastructure was still maintained, and Ahidjo sent to Boya an
in West
administrator.
Sahara, both of which are usually known by people.
Sent to Boya an administrator who was there to overrule anything that the West Cameroon decided in their parliament or in their government. Hey, this administration general from Yaoundé was imposed on us by Ahidjo. That was not all. Ahidjo, on his own, replaced the next prime minister that was elected by parliament, Augustin Ngomjoa, against all laws and all natural justice in the southern Cameroon. He independently replaced him with a non-elected member of parliament, Solomon Tandem Muna. Solomon Tandem Muna, at that time, and as it then was, up to when he retired from the Republic government, became the official betrayer of the Southern Cameroon. He was forced and made prime minister of the Southern Cameroon without being a member of parliament by Amadou Ahidjo. I don't want to belabor the point. That is my succinct presentation of the history of the Southern Cameroon before 1972. And I will now get into 1972 and its impact on our people. 1972, in violation of the constitution that I just talked to you about, the 1961 constitution that was retroactively applied to us, in its Article 47, it actually says no law, no vote will impede the federal nature of the state, of the Federal Republic of Cameroon. The Federal Republic, the federation that was imposed on us. We have never joined La République du Cameroon based on Resolution 1608. Nothing in the United Nations Secretariat or anywhere else in history is there anything to show that we joined La République du Cameroon in pursuance of Resolution 1608. It never existed. However, we became a de facto federal structure, part of the de facto federal structure of the Federal Republic of Cameroon from October 1961 until 1972. 1972 came and Ahidjo unilaterally called for a referendum in violation of Article 47 of the Federal Constitution, which I just cited. It was very, very scandalous. The world watched Ahidjo conduct a referendum. He calls it a referendum, and convene the electorate from all of the Federal Republic of Cameroon, which was made out of 20% Southern Cameroon and 80% La République du Cameroon, or East Cameroon, as you can call it. And the results was overwhelming because it was fraudulent, openly fraudulent. One ballot paper, on one side, it was written we, on the other side, it was written yes, which means the same thing. That is the story of the fraudulent referendum and the so-called reunification. They call it reunification instead of calling it unification, because we went into that federal structure as equal states and with equal status. The proof of that is even La République du Cameroon recognized that when they voted that federal constitution that was retroactively applied to us. And that Article 47 is an indication that we were a separate state. Because if you read the letter of that Article 47, you will conclude that the federal nature of the state was not supposed to be touched because there were two states that made up the Federal Republic of Cameroon. But Ahidjo violated that. And why did he do it? Because they discovered crude oil in Victoria and in the Gulf of Guinea. And the French said, if you don't abolish that federation, you will never be able to exploit that oil. And that's what they did to us. The impact of 1972. What happened? Before, during, and after 1972, Ahicho started dismantling our economic structure, our political structures, and everything that was Southern Cameroon. The first thing was the banking. Cameroon Bank went. They closed down Cameroon Bank in Southern Cameroon and opened a Cameroon Bank headquarters in Douala. I still know the building in Douala up to today. The only thing remaining in the Southern Cameroon as Cameroon Bank was a few branches to cater for individual depositors. They moved all the funds that were raised by Produce Marketing Board and bank in Cameroon Bank to their own treasury, and they built that ugly thing that you see, that tall building you see in Bonanjo, in Douala, and they went ahead to sell all of Cameroon Bank buildings in the Southern Cameroon. They went ahead. The next thing was to abolish Produce Marketing Board, which was the economic live wire of the Southern Cameroon, both in cocoa and coffee. What did they do? They abolished the Produce Marketing Board, brought everything to Douala and called it Office National de Office National de Commercialisation des Produits Agricoles in Douala. And Produce Marketing Board was sold out in the Southern Cameroon. All the structure, all the buildings, all the warehouses were sold by La République du Cameroon. And all the funds of Produce Marketing Board, the biggest economic, the biggest commercial company that commercialized our agricultural products, was dismantled by La République du Cameroon and brought to their territory and killed all that in the Southern Cameroon. The next thing that happened was that they dismantled even our electricity corporation, PowerCam. PowerCam was a hydroelectric company that was established in Yoke, that was done in Yoke during the self-governing period of our country from 1954 to 1961. It was supplying electricity from Victoria to Cambe, hydroelectricity, and very cheap. What did they do? They went to Yoke, dismantled it, abolished PowerCam, and brought their Sonel. And their Sonel came and were commercializing electricity power in the Southern Cameroon at a very exorbitant rate, which most of our people could not afford. Most of our villages and towns remained without current, without electricity for several years before the so-called Sonel did what they did to supply minimally the current that we now have, which is now they use to exploit our people as we speak. They dismantled Santa Coffee. Santa Coffee was the largest Southern Cameroon's coffee plantation that was producing a lot of coffee that was being marketed by our marketing board. What happened to cocoa was that they brought in Francophones into Kumba and Tombel and Manunguba, where we had a lot of cocoa and coffee. Even right down to the Dialem, we had cocoa and coffee. They brought Francophones to buy not only the warehouses, but to enter into private buying of our cocoa from our farmers. They reduced our farmers from the rich people that they were during the Southern Cameroon to peasant farmers with little or nothing. And they bought our cocoa and our coffee and everything,
Okay.
and brought it to the southern Cameroon, to La République de Cameroon.
The
And
Republic.
La République de Cameroon took now all our cocoa and coffee at a very, very minimal price and sold it to world market at a good price and made money. They were
Mhm.
managing what you call ONCPP that I just talked about in Douala. And since that since they dismantled produce marketing board, no Southern Cameroonian has been made general manager of office of ONCPB that I talked about.
Mhm.
Not one. They manage it by themselves. And the last one I saw when I grew up to be a man was one I don't know, a Betty man that was now the general manager in Douala. And of course, our people lost not only the produce marketing board, they lost Santa Coffee, they lost WADA. WADA is Womb Area Development Agency. They lost
Authority.
everything, including even the rice project in Dop was being managed by the Francophones in Dop. They dismantled all our economic infrastructure. Political infrastructure. They closed down the Southern Cameroon Parliament. We had no voice. The number of seats that we had in the federal parliament were abolished, and now it was a Cameroon parliament with little representation from the Southern Cameroon. And what happened to Poncha? You may want to ask me. Poncha walked away in 1970 when he protested the referendum of 1972. And when he called a meeting of his people, he found out that Ahijo had corrupted everybody except Bonlong and Augustine Gomja. And EMMNDLA. The rest, Ebetabe and others were corrupted, and Poncha could not get any support against this so-called referendum. And of course, the
Let me see.
1972, the 20th May 1972 saga. Poncha left disgraced and went to Gwen and stayed there till he died. Muna, the traitor, took over and managed and became the president of the National Assembly, the so-called National Assembly, the first National Assembly of 1970, when he retired and went to Gembo and died. Our forefathers, they did what they had to do. They did their best. Their best was not good enough. This is what has happened to us. The effect of that 1972 are still being felt by us. How? One,
Not yet,
we lost.
by stuff, we're going to get in touch. We're going to come back to you. But I think for us to be
I still
chronological so that
still
we
have to talk.
can,
Let me just finish
yeah,
this.
yeah,
Let
so
me
that
just finish it.
I just wanted us to stay a little bit chronological. We will
Well,
come back to you for the next topic, but maybe we should get Barrister Team now, and then we'll come back to you so that we can make it engaging, interactive, and interesting. So we'll come back to you to conclude, but maybe we should get Barrister Mbesa. Barrister Mbesa, you may want to cue in from there and probably fill in the gaps and also take your talking points. I understand that from
No,
the, from what we have here,
but that party, are we not mixing things up? It is that I'm a barrister and Prof will give one or two talking points to what Barrister so gave us, and then they move over to their own talking point.
move over to their own talking points. So, okay, yeah. So very briefly, Barrister
Mhm.
Mbesa, Professor Ayim, just react to that so that they can move on into their next point, please.
Mhm.
Well, I hope I understand the topic very, very well. I remember I was assigned to deal with justice and peace.
Yeah, you're going to get into that, but we're saying
No,
that
no,
you want to make a
I don't.
commentary on this, and then you'll
Let
get
me
to
finish.
that.
I think if we go on commenting on ourselves, what Barrister So says, what Mr. Mesa says, what Mr. Ayim says, it's not going to help us very much. I would like to take this approach. What Barrister So has said is historically very often very, very factual. But let us remember that we're having this debate in the middle of a war that has been fought for close to 6 years. The international community is aware of this war, but most of them say, oh, we want to bring peace to Cameroon. We want to bring peace to Cameroon. The Canadian example, peace failure is just one of them. And we have always said, as this IG and most Ambazonians, that we cannot accept peace without justice. No peace without justice. I think if we focus on that line, dealing with those sort of things, that will attract our listeners, not just ourselves, but our critics, our supporters abroad. That might, in my opinion, help us better. Much of what Brasanso has said, we know is as the history. We know what happened in 1960. We know what happened in 1961. We know what happened in 1972. So to waste our time doing that, we are talking to ourselves. And I want to remind ourselves that this debate we're having now in the middle of this war is not being handled on ABC. Now, I follow Cameroon news medias. They're having the same debates, though current differently on their different forums. I've watched Equinox. They invite our brothers and sisters there. And the topic is, can we live in peace? Can this 20th May have meaning? Which is the same thing we're saying here. And so if we address it in this context, in this way, I think it will help us. Unless I'm wrong. If I'm not wrong, you permit me to take it from that approach. I'll be saying exactly some of the things Basanso has said, but we're saying them in the perspective of peace and justice. So that those people who sit there out there talking, oh, one piece, one piece, one piece, should understand where we are coming from. I wonder if I'm right, and if you permit me, I may continue.
Yes, very much so. This is really what is the purpose why we are here to educate our people and to attract the international community, that they should know that we know where we're coming from, we know what we want, and we know where we're going to. So, in the midst of that, let me just appreciate the Department of Education and Strategic Planning for setting aside this very educative planning in collaboration with the Department of Communication and the ABC TV. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why you see us sitting here today, because education is our benchmark to getting our recognition. Because many people do not know the beginning of Ambazonia, they don't know the middle, they don't know, they just got in the somewhere. So that is why we are here. That some people should not say, but I did not understand that way they talk. The two way they talk and way you not understand am, I beg, ask them. Call ABC, you ask the people, then they will clarify you. And then we want to thank the president also, President Dr. President Sako, for also standing behind these departments to make sure that such an educative program come out to the people. And I will once again say thank you very much for our legal minds and our learned
I did not
minds
quite finish.
that are,
Sorry,
yeah,
sorry.
barrister, we will come back to you. We'll come back to you. Yes, we'll come back. Yeah, we'll come back to you.
Barrister, Tim, please, can you give your point? We've
Barrister
already
T.
taken
Yeah,
5 minutes. We don't have all the
yes,
time for please, to do this, please.
exactly.
Ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen, it is fair to let Barrister Pro finish his thought. Let's progress in an orderly manner. Let Barrister
Yeah,
Pro
Exactly.
we are not disputing that, Professor I. We're saying that since it's a program, we want it to be connected. He's spoken for about 25 minutes. I'm thinking that Barrister Flu can talk, and then he will come back to conclude, and then you speak so that it makes it good. It's a show, you understand? So if we just go like that, it might not be proper. So let Barrister Mbesa speak. He will come back to conclude, then before he leaves, and then you will speak. Barrister Mbesa, please.
Yes, I just said that this debate going on here is not alone. It's going on different platforms in La Republique du Cameroon and perhaps the world. And when they carry on these things, especially on Equinox and other programs, they invite ambassadors whom they think are academically sound, whom they think are knowledgeable about the problem. And of course, a good number of these people pass for professors, and I have followed them. There are many, but let me take two examples that would make me start my point. I followed a certain Professor Mark Anthony on debrief on Equinox, on having this same debate. He's a professor. If he's a professor, he's a teacher of the university. Professor Mark Anthony says that he was living in a corner before the war started. He would like to go back there. But because of the war, he escaped to Douala, where he's living currently. But interestingly, what does Professor Mark Anthony say? He says the war has gone on too long. He's calling on Ambazonians to lay down their arms because he has realized that after fighting all this while, the government is not talking to us. So let them just surrender so I can go back to Econa. What Professor Mark Anthony did not say is that if he's not in the corner where he used to reside, he's not escaping from Amber Boys. He's not escaping from ARF forces. He has not told us that in a corner that I also know I lived there before. Okona is virtually occupied by military camps. He didn't call the military to take away their arms, their military barracks. Schools there are occupied by military now. So I could go back to his native Okona. And the next person I am coming to is a certain Professor Ngo, Julius Ngo, who passes for a historian. I want to listen to him and listen to Professor Mark Anthony and many others. I've just taken them as an example. I come with the conclusion that these our academic giants, supposed academic giants, are either academically so dishonest or they are factually ignorant of the problem of Ambazonia. Either way, they are wrong. And I want to take my cue from there. Now, I said the whole idea that we have been arguing is that we cannot talk about justice in this war, about peace in this war, without justice. What does that mean? Let me start with justice. When you go to court to look for justice, what are you looking for? You are looking for some interpretation of the law, some legal text that will justify your claim, whatever it is a claim. Like you are going to court because the court will interpret the law. Is the Ambazonian problem legally available? Yes. And as a takeoff, I will say this. They will know that we play to Cameroon. They will know Ambazonia if you take away the Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles, as Barasanso has said, was meant to end the war that was essentially against Germany. It is that treaty that divided Cameroon, okay, into two. I handed one to France as a mandated territory. I had another part to the UK as a mandated territory. Is the Treaty of Versailles a law? It is. So can you end this problem without revisiting the Treaty of Versailles to see that these people were effectively divided. No. We'll go there to look for justice from the beginning. Again, fast forward. There will be no Ambazonia today. There will be no Republic of Cameroon today. But for the 1946 Trust Agreement, created in the 1945 United Nations Charter, Chapter 7. It is a very agreement that created the Trust Territory of Southern Cameroon and created the Trust Territory of British Southern Cameroon and the Trust Territory of French-administered Cameroon. They didn't just create them. After the Treaty of 1919, they went on the ground to put boundary marks to separate the people, to show this is where these people belong. This is where these ones belong. The marks are still standing there. It's the Treaty of Versailles, it's the 1946 agreement, trust agreement, that France signed, that the UK signed, a legal document. Yes, it is. Can we deal with the issue that we have now without visiting it? We cannot. And I will take this to Professor Ngole. I heard Professor Ngole say, well, 2 days ago, Professor Ngole said, well, the so-called Northwest and Southwest can never live together. Because according to him, we're no longer in the 1950s, we're no longer in the 60s, where people tell things the way they want. I may use this opportunity to remind Professor Ngole. He said that was his opinion. That history is not opinion. History is a fact. Like it or not, that's the history. So Professor Ngole, like it or not, in 1946, 1919, and 1946, there was a permanent division between the President of the Republic of Cameroon, called French Cameroon, and the President Ambazonian, called UK-administered Cameroon. That was it. And I will go further to still quote Professor Ngole and remind him, if he has read history, which is documented, that the 1946 Trust Agreement empowered the administrative authorities to break the territories that they were given into administrative units. What they handed to France did not contain a littoral province. They didn't contain a region, whatever they call it. Those creations called the North, the South, the East in French Cameroon was created administratively by the French. What Professor Ngole said was the grassland under the UK-administered Cameroon did not change the fact that the grass, whether they named them grass field or forest zone, it did not alter their belonging to a unit called British administered Trust Territory. They were so named just for administrative purposes. But Ngole failed to know that the French named something they called the Region de l'Ouest. It was not the United Nations that did that. They named the North. They were not consulted. The people of the Northeast were not consulted. The Pygmies in the East were not consulted. The Bamilikis were not consulted. The Littorals were not consulted. They were just cut there administratively. They liked it or not, they became part of French Cameroon. When the Germans got that territory in 1884, they didn't ask us, they didn't ask the Bororos, they didn't ask the Tukweris, they didn't ask the Pygmies whether they want to belong to this unit called Cameroon. We were not sought, that opinion was not sought. But it was known as German Cameroon, short and simple. And so when they came to the Treaty of Versailles and the Trust Territories, people were not consulted. You belong to where you are, and that is the history of Africa decolonization. So Prof. Ngolo should know that. He forgot to say that even what he called the grass field, the British did not just call it the grass field. The British named it Bamenda Province. But Bamenda Province was just one for the purpose of administration. Prof. Ngole did not say that, forgot to know, but he said he lives in the southwest. He lives in Boya. Let him take 10 kilometers down to Ekona. He's going to see 90% of the people in Ekona, if not 95%, come from Momo. So, Momo today is in the northern zone, or what you call the Northwest Province. So they cannot live with the Southwest. Professor Ngole, I'm sorry to say, your history is either outrightly dishonest or shows a lot of ignorance. And so, if that is where we are in the history of Ambazonia, I will go again to say what we said, what Maslot was. Can we have justice? Can we have peace in Cameroon without justice? No, we cannot. This is why when you go to court of law, they call it court of law because they enforce the law. In our own case, the laws have been made clear. The Treaty of Versailles, the United Nations Trust Agreement, the dividing of the territory into two physically, because the maps are still there. There's no map dividing northwest from southwest. There's no physical map dividing the west from the littoral. There's nothing like that. If you see those maps that divide northwest and southwest, East Cameroon, BSC, British Southern Cameroon. Then the other side, it is written French, Cameroon under French administration. So those marks are there. They have international meaning. And so again, I come back to the point. If you go to court, you're looking for justice based on the interpretation of the law. The interpretation of the law may take different things. It may take the law itself. But the law has to go together with equity, with morality. And so, again, can we have this so-called peace without justice? Justice here will refer to morality and to equity. And fast forward to 1961. What we were contemplating and what everybody agreed in 1961 was that if we were to join our people of the East Cameroon, we were going to form two states who were just 20% with equal status, no matter the size. We were going into that union with equal status. The morality of equality of status is clear. The equity there is clear. That the stronger guy will not come down and subdue the smaller guy. He will not come down and strangle you. So it was understood that if we were to be with them, it would be a place of two states with equal status. And so, has this principle been followed that we can claim to make peace without going to look for justice? It has not been followed. And so there can be no peace without justice. Can you explain, who can explain among the experts in East Cameroon, that the abolition of the so-called federation in 1972, the reduction of another state from a single state with equal status with the other to a non-state, embodied in another one and renaming it a province, is that equitable? Certainly not. Is that moral? Certainly not. Is that legal? Certainly not. So that is where we take off. President so talk about the plebiscite of 1961. I've had the opportunity to say this. All of us agree. The plebiscite was an expression of a wish. The question was, do you wish to attain independence? It was a wish by joining East Cameroon or Nigeria. It was simply a wish. Was this wish ever successfully implemented? No, it was never. Why? Because at the earliest opportunity, the other party to that joining voted no to 1608. They voted no, we don't want to join with these people. The United Nations had no power to force you into a union. Anybody, any member state into a union, they could not. So that would have ended the matter right there. That should have been the end of the matter. And so they went on putting 16085. I think I've said this before. France had the right, and they were right, in fact, not to implement 16085. Because 16085 was meant to show the conditions under which we're going to unite. They have said no to the union. So why would they go to be working out fine details of how to unite? Can we end this war without addressing these basic legal issues for the purpose of justice? It is not possible. That's why justice must go with peace. Justice must go with peace. That's what it means. And so we
Yeah,
find
justice must definitely go with peace. But Mr. We're going to come back to you. I think Marashe will usher in Professor Ayin, who will speak for just approximately 10 to 15 minutes. He's going to get us back into historicity, and then Barrister Fru will come to conclude his expose, and I guess that will take him again about 15 more minutes, so that he will speak and he can leave us for you both to conclude. So let's give him that honor. But I think Ma Rachel will now usher in Professor Hayin. Ma Rachel, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Padi. Thank you, Barrister Mbesha. Thank you, Barrister. And so now, Prof, we are on your desk. I'm knocking at your door as I usher you in with the talking points on the way forward for Southern Cameroons. The way forward after the history, after the impact, after the peace and permanent peace and justice for Southern countries, the way forward. Prof.
Uh, Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Let me start by extending um, my sincere greetings to all the Ambazonia Restoration Forces. Wuna Cafe Day up.
Prof, just
Up
tilt
and
a
up.
little bit towards your right hand. Prof, I am tilt a little bit towards your right hand so that Ambazonians can see your handsome face. No, you have tilted too much. Tilt again,
Too much?
just slightly. Towards the left now. Tilt slightly towards the left. That's amazing. Good. Perfect. Go
This,
ahead.
this cool?
Yeah, that's
I
amazing
was,
now.
I was extending my deep respect to the Ambazonia Restoration Forces, and I said, Una Cafe Day up and up. You are the reasons for why this struggle is where it is. And so we value you. I wouldn't say anything anyway without giving you the credit you deserve. And you are the ones to make this happen. We have heard the two former speakers, previous speakers. You will realize that in the process of decolonization, the United Nations violated its charter, its articles, and its resolutions. Our journey has been that of illegality to illegality to illegality to illegality up to your 20th May. And we will not talk about the 20th May 1972 without talking about we and yes. This is the year a referendum, a supposed referendum was conducted, and the two answers were we and yes. Southern Cameroonians who did not know what we was who did not want the union voted we. Francophones who ought not to be part of, knowing their French, they voted we. So we and yes, it ended up having 99.99%. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the intrigue that has been going on related to our history. Are we ready to live with people who are this vicious, who are this cunning, who are untrustworthy? The answer is no. And I want to give you 15 reasons why we should not respect 20th May as a people. 15 reasons. 1. La République du Cameroon and Southern Cameroon had independence through the United Nations General Assembly resolutions on different days and dates. Okay? 2. The plebiscite on the 11th of February 1961 by Southern Cameroons to join La République du Cameroon after independence was not an act of annexation, assimilation, integration, or recolonization. We were taught this in the primary school. Number 3, just give me a minute. Number 3, why we should not. There is no union treaty between the Republic of Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons as per the UN Article 101, Paragraph 1. There was no marriage certificate, my late Molanjo would say. Marriage without a marriage certificate. There's nothing happened. Paragraph 5 of UN Resolution 1608 has not been implemented to today. So, if it has not been implemented up to today, and there was a plebiscite that decided that, common sense will say, okay, now ask the people if they are happy in the joining, if at all a joining took place. Number 4, Southern Cameroon is not part of the country called La République du Cameroun at the United Nations, and this should be made clear after the baseless and senseless war declared on Southern Cameroonians. 5, La République du Cameroun and Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia have distinct territorial boundaries recognized in international law that have never been disputed. That will take you back even to the 13th December 1946 that Barrister Tim was mentioned here. In the days of the British Cameroons, the international boundaries from Lake Chad to the Atlantic Ocean are there, unviolated, up to today. Now, number 6, countries are supposed by international law to be confined to their boundaries at independence. La République, you had your independence on 1st January 1960. Africa Constitution Act 4B says boundaries obtained at independence are inviolable. Where are you in Southern Cameroon? Were we in part of you when you obtained your independence January 1, 1960? Number 7, the UN recognizes that a country that had independence on the 1st of January 1960, which is different from that which had independence on 1st October 1961. That is the story of La République du Cameroun and the Southern Cameroons. Now, number 8, to celebrate 20th May is to promote the fallacy of one and indivisible Cameroon derived from the mediocre educational orientation imposed in La République du Cameroun by France. Number 8, I would say, That's my number 8. To celebrate 20th May is to promote the fallacy of one and indivisible Cameroon. That is what I just said. That was number 8. Number 9, to celebrate 20th May is to promote the continuous massacre of innocent Ambazonians by La République du Cameroon under the fallacy of German Cameroon, put in quotes, derived from the mediocre educational orientation imposed in La République du Cameroon by France. Number 10, to celebrate 20th May is to promote the continuous massacre of innocent Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians, by La République du Cameroon because of this deceit of youths in La République du Cameroon with the words unification and reunification, derived from the mediocre educational orientation imposed in La République du Cameroon by France. Number 11, the problem of Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia is recolonization in the most brutal and primitive form by La République du Cameroon. Number 12, to celebrate 20th May with La République du Cameroon is celebrating the building of a country on lies and dishonesty because of the French imposed mediocre educational orientation in La République du Cameroon of following lies propagated by the elite and not thinking, which is not Anglo-Saxon Ambazonian. Number 13, the mediocrity imposed on Francophones is such that anybody who was attempted to reorient them out of their mediocrity is telling them the truth in the history of their country about May 20th, is thrown in prison or forced into exile to hide the truth from the youths. Number 14 reason, to celebrate 20th May is to continue to promote the stupidity derived from the mediocre educational system and orientation from France that encourages the training of followers, which makes them imagine that Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia can give up its independence and be a special status territory in La République du Cameroon. Number 15, to celebrate 20th May is to legitimize the fake referendum of 1972 and continue to aid La République du Cameroon to benefit from a crime. 20th May, Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians international community, was the birthday of Ahidjo's wife. If you all did not know. So he put that on the birthday of his wife. So we'll be celebrating the birthday of Germaine Ahidjo. These are the 15 reasons why we should not respect 20th May. In a little while, I will tell you the way forward.
Amazing. Thank you very much. You were so succinctly amazing, like the professor that you are. Ma'am, I hope you want to give the floor back to Barrister Flo. He has to crown that historical part of it before he takes his leave. You're muted.
That is what that's what I'm about to do, because looking and listening to Prof's 15 points, maybe we should give a 15-point agenda. 15 points agenda for reasons why we should never, why Jenny May should never be celebrated
You're
again.
getting an echo. Maybe you have a device that's on. We're
No,
receiving an
no,
echo
no,
from your end.
no, not at all.
Oh,
No, no, no.
anyone with
So
another device on, go ahead, Marashe. I know what to do. It's okay.
yes, these 15 agenda points will take us back to why we should not, or the impact of even thinking of celebrating 20th May in Southern Cameroons. Barrister, so you are welcome again. The podium is yours.
I will, I will, I will start where I ended. I will say the impact of 1972 fraudulent referendum and fraudulent 20th May Independence Day, or whatever they call it in La République du Cameroon, is in three different headings. Number one, the political dismantling of the Southern Cameroons. Number two, the economic dismantling of the economic structures of the Southern Cameroons. And number three, the complete loss of the sovereignty of the Southern Cameroons. We have independence, but our sovereignty was stolen by the new colonizers, La République du Cameroon. I had already given you the part of the economic dismantling. I will continue with the economic dismantling by also talking about the Gulf of Guinea. La République discovered oil in our territory in the 1970s or even a little bit before. And that is why La République and France started scheming to abolish the federation. Because if they maintain that federation, they will not be able to drill that oil, they will not be able to benefit from that oil in the southern Cameroons. Therefore, after they did it, they gave all kinds of concessions to their partners, their fraudulent partners in Europe and America to start drilling oil in our territory, which is the Gulf of Guinea. You had Sereka was one of the first, or was the first to start drilling, followed by Pectin, and somewhere along the line, Pectin sold to Adak, which are the Chinese, and somewhere along the line, the Russians came in, and those are the people that are drilling and taking our oil in the Gulf of Guinea as we speak. La République made that possible by abolishing the federation and scheming to take away our economic live wire. They took away our economic infrastructure, like I just said. And let me just name them quickly again: Produce Marketing Board, Cameroon Bank, PowerCam, WADA, UNFPA in DOP, you name them. Coffee, Santa Coffee Estate, the selling away of all the buildings and all the structures of Produce Marketing Board to their francophone brothers, Bamilikis more especially, and the structures we had in Bota sold to their CPTM cohorts. They created a liquidation to liquidate all our territory, all the economic live wire of our territory. Lastly, PWD was closed down, and all the equipment that the southern Cameroons had to repair their roads and infrastructure were scattered to Yaoundé, and they created what they call Marc Genie, which did nothing anymore in the southern Cameroons. Therefore, the dilapidating roads that we have in the southern Cameroons is as a result of the closing down of PWD. That is the economic dismantling of the economic structures of the southern Cameroons. Politically, first, Ahijo illegally removed an elected prime minister who was elected in parliament and elected as prime minister, Augustin Gomjoa, from the West Cameroon House of Assembly, and replaced him with an elected member in the name of Solomon Tandem Mona, who we all know up to now was the biggest black leg traitor of the Southern Cameroon's cause. Well, he deceived him that he was going to make him prime minister so that he becomes the president of, he replaces him in the presidency of La République de Cameroon, and it never was, because Paul Biya was appointed the prime minister who replaced Ahidjo. The idea was to completely assimilate the Southern Cameroons. Sovereignty, we lost the federation, therefore we're out of the union, the de facto union. There was no union, but a de facto union created by the forces of La République de Cameroon, which came to colonize us on the 30th of September 1961. And of course, the imposition of the so-called 1961 Federation, which they violated, is Article 47. So after 1972, we were living in limbo. We were neither in a union with La République de Cameroon, and we didn't have our sovereignty. What did they do? They created all kinds of structures. United Republic of Cameroon. From the United Republic of Cameroon to, in 1964, they concretized the assimilation by going back to the country that we supposedly joined in 1961, La République du Cameroon, which is the name of La République du Cameroon today, as we know it. That's not all. In 1984, La République officially ceded from the union, if there was ever any union. There was a de facto union which had no legal basis. They completely ceded, and we had no choice but to restore the independence that was accorded us by the United Nations General Assembly of the 21st of April, 1961. That is how we lost our sovereignty, and we are now fighting to regain that sovereignty. How are we fighting? We did not start a war. I repeat, we did not start a war. Our people came out and demonstrated on the 22nd of September 2017. They were met with fire and brimstone, and so many were killed. And when we came out on 1st of October 2017 to restore our sovereignty, what happened? La République, with helicopter gunships supplied to them by the United States, completely wiped our youths. 122 youths were killed on that day, both in Boya, Bamenda, and all the other hotspots in the southern Cameroons. And that's not all. What did they do? On the 13th of November 2017, Paul Biya declared war on the southern Cameroon. And that war is being fought up to today. What have they done to us? These are all the impacts of 1972. What did that war do to us? They burned more than 500 villages. They killed more than 65,000 people of our people. Our people are displaced externally and internally. Look at the way a young man was describing our people in Yaoundé, that we are dirty, we are this and that, and that and that. Our people are displaced in La République du Cameroon, running away from the war that La République unleashed on us. They committed genocide in Gabu, in Bali, in Babankitungo, in Santa, in Mato, in Kondotiti, in Kumba. They killed our students just like they killed our students in Kondotiti. These are the atrocities that La Republic has unleashed on us, and they are continuing to unleash on us. But there's light in the tunnel. We are going to fight to the last man standing. We will unleash the lava of our blessed mountain given to us by God. We will unleash that lava on La Republic of Cameroon until they get out of our territory. Because they walked away from the talks that were ongoing, were supposed to be ongoing in Geneva, and they never was, because La Republic walked away. For 2 years, we were waiting for La Republic to meet us on the table, and they didn't show up, and the end result was to walk away. They have been doing everything to destroy this interim government so that we will not have a voice. No, they have not succeeded in any shape or form. The government is in firm control of the southern Cameroons, and this time around, we are no longer defending. We will go offensive. Offensive against the infrastructure of La Republic government on our territory. Offensive on any structure standing identified as La Republic of Cameroon. Offensive as to all the military installations that Barrister Tim talked about, beginning from Monya, Ekona, going up right to Kambe. All of them are legitimate targets, and we will bring them all down, and La Republic will be forced to come to the table. But we are not, I repeat, we are not begging for them to come to the table. They will come by force. If they don't come, so be it. Somaliland is living without recognition, without anything from anybody. So the Southern Cameroon can live. But we will have to bring down all the installations of all the oil installations in the Gulf of Guinea to stop La Republic and its criminal partners in the West that are exploiting, and in Russia that are exploiting our oil in our territory with all impunity and financing a war that is killing our people. We have lost more than 65,000 of our people, and we must revert the situation in the coming days, months, or years. We will fight to the last man standing. Let La Republic know that we are ready. We are ready. We are ready to re-establish our economic life wire, our political structure, and our sovereignty. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was excellent. Very powerful. Actually, this is the never again generation. Those who There are some people who call some other Ambazonians that the real Ambazonians. They themselves they are real Ambazonians, but to highlight the fact that they know of people who, come rain, come shine, take every other thing, give us our Ambazonia. They name them real Ambazonia. Barrister, I
Yeah.
can attest that we have Director Padi, I can attest that we have real Ambazonians here. These are
Yes.
real Ambazonians.
Indeed, real
And
Ambazonians.
That I can
yeah,
stay for another 30 minutes. I can stay for another 30 minutes.
okay, sir.
Okay, you
Yes,
can
and
stay for
that is
another 30 minutes.
yes.
That's
And let me
amazing.
just talk to our public, please. When you hear of PWD, you should know that it's public work and development. This thing
Department.
that yeah,
Yeah,
Public Works
it's
Department.
public
department.
works and
Yeah,
department, yeah.
yeah, public work department. This thing that La Republic is saying that we will tie you road, we will tie you road year in year out. Since I was a small child, I used to hear that they will tie road till today. People are still telling me that nothing
In
has even
fact,
happened.
Bamenda has gotten worse. Bamenda is worse,
Even
ma, right here.
even even the one that we grew up seeing, they have cleared it off. So it has gone as if I don't even know, but Ambazonian people, people of Ambazonia, people of this gifted land, blessed nation, It is your pride to fight for your nation and get it. It's just like the gospel that nobody can corrupt it. You cannot take from it. You cannot add from it. This is just Ambazonia for you. Let's do something and have our nation. While we continue with the discussion, Barrister Mbesha, we come back to you as you continue to
Yeah,
talk.
Marash, I want to solicit with you as we're watching so
Okay.
that we lay the foundation of history and how that before the barrister Mbeshas are speaking today, we want to get a chronology of where we're coming from. So let's take a brief
Mm-hmm.
break that is very
Okay.
historical, and it will help
Yes.
Barrister Mbesa to not go back into probably history, but this is a man who stood 30 years ago and told the world that we are not Cameroonians. And let's hear him. It will take us about 9 minutes. And when we come back, we'll get into Barrister Mbesa and Professor Ayin. Then we'll all take conclusions and take some calls. Stay tuned, please.
Okay.
International law does not regard you as people of Cameroonian nationality. This must be shocking to you. From where 1st of January 1960, the international law recognizes the inhabitants of La République de Cameroon as people of Cameroonian nationality. There can be no Cameroonian nationality outside that La République du Cameroon. Please take very great note of this. If you decide to be using Cameroonian nationality as a flag of convenience, it is because you decide to use it as a flag of convenience. But international law does not regard you as Cameroonians. And the Treaty of Funban, Article 1, goes to spell it out. It states, nationals of the federated state shall become Cameroonian citizens and shall possess Cameroonian nationality. This means when your country, which was then called United Nations Trust Territory of Southern Cameroon under United Kingdom administration. Can you listen? That's how to describe a country. Is that the name of a country? Is that the name of a country? United Nations Trust Territory of Southern Cameroon under United Kingdom administration. That is a whole definition of an area. It's not the name of a country. We are coming to why you are not considered as Cameroonians. This identification by description only determines that you are not. It says that when your country accepts to become a federated state in the Federal Republic of Cameroon, then you acquire the right to become Cameroonian citizens and have Cameroonian nationality. But is your country now a federated state in Federal Republic of Cameroon? Is there a Federal Republic of Cameroon? Is there a Federal Republic of Cameroon? So you acquired Cameroonian nationality only by treaty. And once that treaty is abrogated, you are no longer Cameroonians. That's only logical, isn't it? Then what are you? Eventually, the brilliant scholar came and decided to proclaim the secession law 84/001 of the 4th of February 1984, by which he formalized the secession of what was East Cameroon into La République du Cameroon. By that secession, as you must have heard, the last speaker, It opened the way. You see, God moves in a very mysterious way. As long as Ambazonia was in this dubious thing of United Republic of Cameroon, there was a fiction of unity existing, even though in international law it had collapsed. There may be some of you who have done political science. This is the principle of extinction and creation of states. Let's start it over. From the moment Southern Cameroon, as it was called, as a state, joined the République de Cameroon in forming the Federal Republic of Cameroon, under international law, the two states are extinct and the new state created is created. That is to say, there is a creation of a new state and an extinction of the two states that are created. Now, when the treaty that has brought this together collapses, as it did, the Federal Republic of Cameroon becomes extinct. That state is extinct. And automatically and simultaneously, with that extinction, the original states are resuscitated. These are the principles of international law concerning creation and extinction of states. Recently, Paul Biya carried a catechism lesson in Boya. He told the people, I am a Cameroonian, and the people shouted after him, I am a Cameroonian. I was born a Cameroonian, the people shouted after him, I was born a Cameroonian. And I will ever remain a Cameroonian. The people shouted, I will ever remain a Cameroonian. Paul Biya did law in Paris. He knows that under international law, you and myself, Ambazonians, are not Cameroonians. And the treaty that gave you Cameroonian nationality has been abrogated. So it was necessary for him to instill into your subconscious the nationality of Cameroonian in order to enable him to rule a country as a colony under the pretext that it is part of Cameroon. Why did he not carry that catechism in the other side? Why didn't he go to Eboluwa and say, I am a Cameroonian, or Je suis Camerounais? Let us hear. Because the people are Cameroonians under international law. But you who are not Cameroonians must be made to believe that you are Cameroonians, and you are believing that you are Cameroonians, and as a result, you are even participating in the institutions of the République de Cameroon, as if you are like, what you are is that Cameroon Outre-mer, Cameroon overseas. I mean, they themselves call you Cameroon Outre-Mongo. That's what they call you. Why must your own Cameroon be qualified? It is because you are not Cameroonians. And the moment you accept that you are not Cameroonians and decide that you must research your own identity, then we have started a fight. And until then, it's a total waste of time to complain and complain and complain, because nobody outside is going to come and bother about you. If you say you are a minority, there's no country without minority. The United States has several minorities. Nobody can come here and start talking about the United States minority. Quebec is a minority. United Nations can't interfere there. There is no country without minority. But we are not dealing with a minority problem. Article 76 of the UN Charter limits the trusteeship system to only two alternatives for a state. You either develop the state to self-government or to independence. This is our story. The UN is under an obligation, a legal obligation, not a moral one, to implement that. We had a system which was the only system where a government could conduct an election and be defeated by the opposition. Dr. Indele conducted an election that was defeated by Foncha from the opposition. Nowhere has it happened in Africa. Nowhere. To show you that the system was thorough. It was typically British style. Now, they tell us that they voted in a referendum of the 20th May to say that we should be ruled from Yaoundé. And Who are you? You go about say, well, our elders voted in a referendum that we should be ruled as a colony. Where have intelligent human beings, having attained that level of political development, volunteered that a country that was less educated politically, a country of bandits, should come and rule them. Voluntarily, they ask for it to come, wipe away their House of Chiefs, House of Parliament, House of Assembly, and crush every other thing there. And you believe that that is what your people did. At the time of that plebiscite vote, or what you call it, referendum vote, it was very interesting to see what happened in the College of Arts in Yaoundé, Bambili, because as always, students are radicals. They made sure there were two papers. One was white, one was black. The black meant no, the white meant yes. And by the time they finished, when they came to pick up the things, the whites were all full on the ground, and inside the box was all black. But what were the results for Bambili? 100% in favor. That is gigantic fraud, which Ahijo used and said the people had accepted that I should run their lives for them. But we are not even interested in that referendum, because the question, as my brother put to you here, is this: was a referendum mentioned in the Treaty of Fumban as a mode of modifying that treaty? If the answer is yes, then we are condemned to be where we are. If the answer is no, then we'll have a right to revolt against an arbitrary government. It is a government that is illegal, and it is illegal to obey an illegal government. That is the course which God has set us forward, and we are not stepping one step back. We have accepted death, and I don't see what else we have before us, because we are tired of being tossed around. The country and the territory from which you come is rich in every aspect, natural and human resources, that if we can be united, if we understand the cause, there is no question of who is boss and who is follower. And we have a people who are willing, as you must have noticed, unarmed. When I was imprisoned and locked up in a VMM, students came out barefisted to face the gendarmes. They burned edifices. In Bangla alone, they raised down the whole gendarme barrack they raised it with fire. Now, you are young men, and time has come for you people to pick up the government and pursue this fight to a logical conclusion. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ambazonians, you heard it. This is, I would say that Barrister Goji Dinka lived his days, his youthful days, as a genius of his time. Did you hear the intricacies, the angle he tackled the legal argument? That was in the 90s, 30 years ago, at least 30 years. Let me get back. Let me get back. Let me bring the legal minds here.
Let me react to
You're trying to say something, Barisafu?
Yes. I listened to my venerated, most senior colleague, but I beg to differ. There was no treaty signed in Fumban. There was
No. He was rubbishing whatever was done in
No,
Fumban.
no. He talked
No,
about a treaty
yeah,
that was signed in Kumban that was violated. There was no
Yeah,
such
yeah.
treaty.
Well, we're going to get into that argument maybe towards the end. Let's get
I just want to
Barrister.
make that
Okay,
clear. I just want to make that
Marashe.
clear. I just want to make that clear so that he understands that there was no treaty.
Yeah,
yes, thank you very much, Barrister. Thank you very much. You know, Amazonian history is something that we are learning from every day. We get the spices coming out from the juicy corners, and at the end of the day, we all get it right. So, Barrister, you have the floor. You were to talk about to complete your session. Then,
Marashe,
uh,
you just came to your chair and you're now feeling almost your screen move a little bit backward so that we can have
okay,
you properly steered. Amazing. You're good now.
okay.
Okay, let me just say this. Paddy, Gojidinka cannot be described as was a genius. No. Gojidinka was and is still a genius.
Yes.
I don't agree with the commas and the dots and the T. What he said then is still as useful now as it was at the time he made the speech 30 years ago. So he was and is still a genius. You just
Yeah.
have that there. There are a few things that he said that are not important. For example, the black ballot and other nonsense. That is not necessary for now. Let me move on and say this. I earlier talked about our geniuses, our historical experts, and I talked about Julius Ngo Victor. If some people mistook me for saying Ngole now, I said Julius Ngo Victor, not Ngole.
Yeah.
But I would also mention Ngole now because there are two. You see, these our opponents, the Francophones. We have a lot of our brothers and sisters over there, and when they are confronted with things like this, they go to them expecting to get the rare facts, the legal history, and unfortunately, they get the wrong thing. We remember our argument here is that the last resolution of the United Nations concerning British Southern Cameroon was 1608, and we've argued that 1608, Yaoundé, that is the Republic of Cameroon, voted against it. And if they voted against it, it could not bind us, it could not bind them. That's our argument. We also argued that even if we wanted to bind us, 16085 was never implemented. And let us bring this 16085 for purpose of our academically dishonest historians or
Thank you.
factually ignorant historians. The Francophone journalist under Equinox TV had put this question to Professor Ngole: what happened to 16085? And this was Ngole's answer. He said, yes, 16085. The tripartite envisaged there never took place. He agrees. But according to him, which I say it is stupidly dishonest, Foncha and Ahijo agreed to do their things their way. This is Professor Ngole. Professor Ngole, who is a professor of international relations, refused to take well know that United Nations resolutions are binding. They are what they are. You cannot do things the way you want to do. You do them as described by that resolution. So for him to
Mm-hmm.
imagine that Foncha and Ahijo did the things they wanted to do in their own way is just being flat, outright dishonest. Again, 16085. That question was posed to uh, Professor Victor Julius Ngo. What happened to 16085? And this was the answer given by Professor Julius Ngo. He said 16085 was implemented. And the guy asked him, where is the evidence that was implemented? Victor Julius said, it was implemented by note verbal. That's the greatest mark of academic dishonesty. Professor Ngo,
Not the
did not tell us that note verbal, what he calls note verbal, note verbal were very well known, but note verbal were informal discussions Ahijo held with Funcha. And Funcha signed those note verbal, not as the premier of West Cameroon. He signed them as leader of the government party because he was negotiating on terms of joining. And the agreement was that if they were ever to join on those their terms, the
You
note
see,
verbal,
but
the
you
note
see,
verbal will,
Barrister Mbesa, you're getting to a point where it's a little bit argumentative, and I want to break even so that our people get to understand it. Now, are you saying that this note verbal, because I understand what that means in, fortunately, I schooled in Guakili, so I understand what that means in English. Are you saying that this note verbal is what Fongojitika was calling treaties?
no. I'm
no,
giving you
no,
the
no, no, no,
answer.
no, no, no.
I'm giving you the answer that Professor Ngo,
The people give.
Julius,
Yeah,
and Professor
he gave
Ngole
those
Ngole.
answers, and you're
Listen to
affirming
me.
that I am a
No.
forger actually signed the note verbals, right?
Listen to me,
Mm,
Paddy.
mm,
I'm saying that these are the answers the two professors each
Yeah,
gave to justify that 1608 was signed and therefore was binding on British Southern Cameroons.
mhm.
According to Professor Ngole Ngole, he agrees that it was not signed, but he says Foncha and Ahijo just did things their own way, and that's why they
So,
went to
so my
court.
question now is that the treaty that Foncha and Aijo signed, when was that signed? Is that what Fongoji is talking
Foncha
about?
and Ahijo never signed any treaty.
They never sign
Okay,
anything.
so the
I've said
note
that
verbal that was signed,
I've said that between 1959 and April
yeah,
1961, when after 1352, that talked about a plebiscite. There were informal talks that were going on between Ahinjo, the leader of East Cameroon, and Foncha, the leader of West Cameroon, who was postulating for union with East Cameroon. The
yeah,
same informal talks were going on between Nigeria and Ndele.
and then
Yes, the ones of Cameroon and Foncha were documented and
note
called note
verbal.
verbal.
Now leave that one more talk. How we
No, they
take
were
in
documented
the
and called note verbal,
to stand strong.
and they were signed by Foncha, not as
Okay,
prime
that is
minister.
what I want you to say it loudly because it has a lot. You said the note verbal was signed by Foncha. Am I correct?
Yes, but not
Good.
as prime minister of West Cameroon. They
Not
were
as prime
signed.
minister. That's
No,
a
they were
fact.
signed as leader of the party negotiating to join them. And if you let me learn, you understand why. I told we have had this discussion here before that for the purpose of the plebiscite, the United Nations appointed a United Nations plebiscite officer who came from Iran. If you see Resolution 1608, it says, after having read the report of the plebiscite officer, the United Nations was convinced that the election was fair, the vote was fair and free. But let me go back to the note verbal. When the plebiscite officer arrived in Cameroon to find out where were the terms of this purported agreement, they showed him the note verbal. And he said, look, this note verbal were signed by Foncha, not as the prime minister, and asked him why you were signed not as a prime minister. He said, look, these were just informal agreements. To make them formal and binding on West Cameroon, we have to legitimate them and take it to parliament, to West Cameroon House of Assembly, to accept. And so fast forward to 16085. The United Nations plebiscite officer was aware of the note verbal. He knew that the note verbal were not binding. The United Nations General Assembly of 21st of April, knew about them. That is why they wrote in 16085, giving them until before 1st October, the three governments now. He didn't talk about Frontier, he talked about government of East Cameroon, or Cameroon Republic, government of British Southern Cameroon, and government of the UK, to formalize the way they intended to implement the agreed intentions, to formalize how they were going to implement the agreed intentions, which was not done. So the note verbal cannot be, my point here is that what Professor Ngo said, the note verbal could not be binding and taken for an implementation of 16085. That's the bottom line, what I'm saying.
Correct.
And so,
Yeah,
Professor Ngo
Barrister
was
Tim,
just
I agree with your analogy at least by 100%. But you see, this is just what I wanted you to clarify. Could it be that Fon Goji was talking, but was referring to these note verbals as treaty? Perhaps that's what he
no,
was doing. So
I'm
that we
not
can
dealing with
clarify.
Goji. No, I'm not dealing with Goji. Goji was saying in summary that as the time he was talking, 1990, that there's no treaty union between British Southern Cameroon and East Cameroon, who have argued differently that if they had agreed in 16085, the three governments would have signed. UK, which had foreign power over us; Cameroon, which had foreign power authority, who had autonomous authority as an independent country, and we, in principle, Frontier would have taken this agreement, if it had been signed by the three, to the British Southern Cameroon House of Assembly to ratify and accept it. I'm coming to that. So what Dinka is saying is that there was no treaty, call it any name. I don't even want to call it treaty. There was no agreement signed. Because the note, the verbal, which Ngo Julius is saying, were
Come a
signed by
little bit towards your left. Come a little bit towards your left-hand side so Ambazonians can see you well, Barrister T. Your left,
Frontier and Ahijo. They were not
no,
signed
your
by the
left
UK.
hand. You're going to the right hand, towards your left hand.
The British government that still had power over foreign affairs over Southern Cameroon was not party to the note verbal, even though they knew about them. But I'm coming to that right now to explain something different. Now, comes the federation, which we all agreed. They produce something they call the Federal Constitution. And we have also all agreed that the Federal Constitution, so-called, was an amendment of the French Cameroon Constitution. But when was this Federal Constitution passed? The Federal Constitution was passed and signed on the 1st of September 1961, 30 days before October 1st. Who signed the Federal Constitution before even the Federation ever came into existence? It is signed, I have the right here, at the large push, signed Amadou Ahijo, Yaoundé, 1st September 1961. It does not say in what capacity Mr. Ahijo was signing this document on the 1st of October of September 1961, long before we ever joined them. But that document is described here as the Federal Constitution of Cameroon. This is the document right here. So again, back to my slot. Can we talk about justice, a peace without justice, without referring to these legal documents? Now, we have to visit these
You see,
documents.
Barrister Tim, please, we are streaming this program and the international community is watching. Come towards your left, endeavor to come again towards your left, do some inches towards your left hand side. Again, no, your left hand.
Madam Director,
That's
Madam
good. Go
Moderator,
ahead.
Is that
Go
okay?
ahead.
Moderator, Madam Moderator,
No, she's not there. It's okay.
Okay,
Let him say what he wants to say now.
give me a
Mr.
few minutes. I need to go. I had a job orientation scheduled that coincided with this program, and I opted to be in this program, begging for a delay of the other one. If you don't mind it, let me run up the way forward and leave.
Well, let me just I have
Before,
only two sentences to make.
please.
I have only two sentences
Okay,
to make.
Tim, you have maybe 2 minutes or so.
Now, let me just make this to so my video that will also help him. So, I was saying that we cannot talk about peace without justice. In other words, we cannot go without referring to these documents. And so, to conclude this point, how do we reconcile on making peace without justice? Looking at what Yaoundé is doing today. How do we reconcile that even the so-called federal constitution, which by every intent and purpose was never a federal constitution? Why? Because a federation implies that the states will have some authorities to do what they want to do. They have a sphere of influence. This document called Federal Constitution in Article 5, 6, and 7 enumerated all the powers that the federal government will do. There is nothing left for the states. For it states in Article 38, the federated states, and let me just read it. Any subject not listed in Article 5 and 6, whose regulation is not specifically entrusted by the Constitution to the federal government, shall be left to the federated state. So they have taken everything. They say, okay, any other thing we're going to put here belongs to the state. What a constitution is that? And then again to go and learn, just to learn. How do we reconcile a state? Just assuming for the purpose of argument that there was a state called West Cameroon. How do we reconcile that state? A state means many things with institutions. To what Yaoundé is offering today and calling in a special status. How does a special status compare to a state as fraudulent as it was in the first place? So again, we cannot talk about peace without looking at justice. Justice, we have to look at these legalities in order to arrive at peace. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Ayim. Yes, Professor Ayim, you may want to take the floor quickly since you have to go. Marashel, place your camera.
Thank you very much. Wow, very rich discussion. Now, the way forward for the Southern Cameroon's struggle. The way forward has been traced by the Presidential Advisory Council, diplomatic think tank of the interim government, home front civil society, objective voices, cabinet, and Ambazonia Restoration Forces. The president and leader of the People's Interim Government of Southern Cameroon is the only one empowered to be the voice of the people, and that is President Samuel Ekome Sako. The president and leader of the People's Interim Government of Southern Cameroon releases the policy to the international community in press conferences, interviews, through appeal to the UN to act, etc., etc. So the president and the leader of the People's Interim Government listens to the requests by the Ambazonia Restoration Forces, and that the focus should be on the recognition quest of the country as a 55th nation in Africa and nothing less. The newly branded Southern Cameroon's presidential webpage, Facebook, and Twitter handles are most current references and resources for all to follow, get updated information. All citizens and the friends of Southern Cameroon are called upon to retweet massively when President Sako tweets. We should all take this as a task going forward. Retweeting. When he tweets, let's have 100, 200 retweets just like that in a minute, than to focus on detractors and coup plotters. Presidential tweets are directional and resourceful information towards targeted diplomacy to the international community. The People's Interim Government is the main actor, not stakeholder, in our liberation and restoration struggle. Leadership of the People's Interim Government has gained international confidence. Let us build on it and desist from talking about detractors a lot. The truth is that every effort by La République and France is dead and buried like 20th May. Home front must be hotter than ever before during this period when the UN is putting together the UN General Assembly agenda for September 2023. Therefore, pay your Ambazonia Independence Dues, AID. If you don't know the webpage, it's www.aidforcitizens.org and register through the webpage. We need to support our ARF. This is very sensitive moment now, May, June. The agenda for the UN General Assembly is being drawn at this moment. That is why you see La République holding fake peace meetings here and there, or what they're doing on the ground. They want to gather information as evidence to support their presentation at the UN that there is peace. So this is a moment we have to sit up and focus. We must continue to make sure our refugees are protected by engaging the authorities that may be in Nigeria and the UNHCR. This is urgent need going forward. Thank you very much for listening, Southern Cameroonians and international community. This is our way forward.
Thank you very much, Marasha. Perhaps you want to cue in to let the panelists that will be with us. I understand, but Professor Ayim is leaving to help them conclude so we can round off the show. You have muted yourself.
Thank you very much, Director Padi, and thank you, Barrister Mbesha and Barrister and Prof. Aim for that very powerful presentation at the beginning of this discussion of 20th May ban in Ambazonia, the history behind this day. Thank you for the powerful presentation you've given to the people of Ambazonia. We are going to go into the second phase of it to let it be some sort of major statements to whatever you have presented, so we can draw from there and go into the Q&A.
Yes, we have approximately 20 more minutes. So we'll start with you, Barrister Fru.
Yes, thank you, Paddy. I want to state here and now that all our Ambazonia restoration forces, all our citizens in Ambazonia, in the home front, and in the diaspora, and everywhere around the world, should never forget our history. Nobody forgets his history, because your future depends upon who you are, which depends upon your history. Do not listen to detractors like Tibu Nash, who says you should only look at the windscreen and do not look at the rear mirror. The rear mirror would tell you where you're going and how you have to go. And the windscreen always shows you the direction. Therefore, our history up 1972, the impact of our history, the impact of 1972 on us going forward should be the watchword for every Ambazonia living in this generation. We cannot allow this fight to the next generation. We have to finish it, recover our sovereignty, reestablish our economic infrastructure, reestablish our government before we hand over to the next generation. Thank you very much for inviting me. And Barrister, Director Padi and Marashe, I am leaving the screen now because I'll be running to work very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barrister. Before you disappear, let me just say this because you handle the part of the background, the history before that. You know, there are lots of things that are coming up as we begin to think. You remember when our late Funchas Fallon said, um, this war, this injustice will be fought by our children. And this is the generation of those children that are fighting. If you know, if we can remember the history behind it, when Aijo had declared in the parliament then that he was going to, let me recall my Cameroon history that I studied, and our teacher was kind to have been giving us some backside history, where he said that that time Folong said when Aijo came and said he has dissolved the federation, there's going to be a unitary state, and the election went on 5th of May, and he now declared that the people have agreed on the 20th of May that we have already banned in southern Cameroon. Fellow Ambazonians, remember our father, Dr. Bernard Fallon, said this injustice shall be fought by our children. If there is any Ambazonian who is coming, especially from Bui County, the birthplace of our father, Dr. Bernard Fallon, that you are not contributing, that you are not doing what it takes. We know that they are doing a lot. We know in that part, yes. The other part, if you are not yet doing it, come, because where a prophecy starts, that is where it moves out to the other. Let me not enter the Bible thing. But then, that was when he said, this injustice will be fought by our children. So, children of Amazonia, this generation, stand up and let's make our parents proud in their graves. Thank you very much, Barrister, for being here. And yeah, we take the
There's
next.
no crime in you even entering the Bible. Christians should not be apologetic for using the Bible, because if their
No, we
belief is
don't
that the
have
Bible,
time, Director. There's
yeah,
no time now. There's no
yes,
time for me to go. You know, when the source, when they say what good can come from Nazareth, people were
yeah.
laughing. But little did they know that the Savior of the world came from Nazareth. You know, so this is the same thing here, that some people will say, why do you go to talk only to the Bui people? But where something comes, you know, even the people from Momo, from Widikum, that's where from Gojidinka also comes from. So there are lots of things that if you look at where you are coming, you should be able to say today and tomorrow, very soon, people will be saying, Barrister Mbesa was here on the ABC TV every day. The people of Ako, the people of Levi Island should get up because Barrister was here saying it. Barrister, so the same thing. That's why everyone should fight to be on the right side of history. Yes, thank you very much. And Barrister So has left us. He has been called to other duties, Prof. Ayim as well. Thank you, Barrister Besha, for being there. So we will continue with you as you continue to educate us and sensitize us with the issues that are at hand, because tomorrow is that doomsday. Tomorrow is doomsday. So our people needs to know the reasons why no such thing should even be mentioned. We are just educating people so that people will not say, but what is really going on? Why? You know, some people do not get it. So some people don't even have electricity. They don't have access to the internet. They don't have access. So when we are talking about it every day, it's because in the hope that somebody might have left their interior village, maybe visiting somewhere where they can have information, and when they go back, they might take it to their people. So, ladies and gentlemen, 20th May has been banned in Amazonia. We are just educating ourselves why why people will say this is what we have been celebrating for some time. Why should you say it should no longer, it should never be? So these are the lessons we are learning. So please stay tuned as Barrister Besha will continue with us with the impact of um, mm, yeah, the impact
But make
rounding
sure you have
to the way
approximately
forward.
10 minutes to help us conclude the program.
Yes, to the way forward, rounding up with a little bit of background history again, the impact, the way forward, and yeah, the floor is yours, Barrister. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Madam. As a roundup, let us remind ourselves that we are 6 years in the war. The war is going to end, no matter what it is. It's going to end sooner or later. But all ambassadors should rest assured that whenever it ends, we're not going to accept peace without justice. The two will go together whether they like it or not. Let ambassadors also be careful of detractors. There are so many factions, groups there claiming each to fight for Amazonia. Yes, they call us a group. Let them call us anything. This IG, the legitimacy of the IG over this struggle is not a self-imposed thing of President Sako or anybody sitting in his place. We bear from the fourth conclave that held in Zaria, and among its resolutions, it resolved that going forward from that date of the fourth conclave, all issues pertaining to the Ambazonian struggle should be headed and directed by the IG. So we didn't impose that. That's still the foundation. That's where we stand. Nobody claiming to have some authority has claimed to be the IG. Not one. They didn't say on the vice president, so Mr. Yerema, you have no position here, even as the vice president, illegal or legal. The Choyabas, none of them has claimed to be the IG. And so we are legitimately leading the struggle physically, intellectually, educationally. So come sooner or later, we'll conclude these things. Come sooner or later with peace and justice done to us. I said on some other occasions, the peace we need and the justice is not good, probably not going to be asking them to give us $100 million, 10,000 francs. There will be some justice done. Rest assured it will be done. If it is only moral, apology, something to acknowledge the wrongs they have done to us. Without which, peace will not come. And peace will only come when this IG declares the end of this war by some negotiated agreement. And so, Ambazonians, keep educating yourselves, keep contributing to the struggle in any form or shape that you are able to. Above all, be careful of detractors. Above all, be careful of self-imposed professors, self-imposed historians, self-imposed lawyers. They are there, and they have different reasons for being there. I gave, for example, 2, 3 here. The Ngolis, the Julius Ngos. They have an interest. Their interest is not Ambazonia. The interest is to preserve what they have kept in the bigger house of La Republic. And so they come from that perspective. And as the saying goes, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. And so that is where it is. And to our brothers of the Southwest, purported Southwest, who follow Professor Julius Go. There's nothing like Southwest without the Northwest. There's nothing like the Southern Zone without the grass field. They are an integral part of Amazonia. Just like there's nothing like Nigeria without Kaduna. There's nothing like Nigeria without Lagos. These are thousands of miles apart, but they constitute one Nigeria. So saying that will be impossible for the people to live together, I think is one of the most stupid things somebody can ever say. We didn't vote to be with the grasslanders from the forest. And who told Professor Ngo that there's something called Southwest? Who told him that there's something similar between the BLM and people of Bakwere? Or between Manu, the buying people there, and people of Boya. So that geographical name called Southwest, Cap Abade, by the Yaoundé, is not meant to help anybody. It is meant to distribute functions, to share the booty of the capture. And if Professor Ngo doesn't know, and anyone, they can come and find out from me. There's something we call Swella. I was the foundation member of Swella in 1991. That created this nonsense of course Swella. I was a founder, not just a founder. I was Assistant Secretary General. So when I say there's nothing like that, let Professor Ngo question me. So Ambazonia, from Kambe to Victoria, from Victoria to Tundu, from Edinau to Ndop, we are a people. We will survive as a people and we shall die as a people, notwithstanding the detractions of Professor Ngo. Any other person queuing up from them. Thank you once more. Let us go on fighting. It has never been an easy thing. The day of victory is nearer, and victory will come no matter how long it takes. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for having us. We hope people have learned something from this lengthy discussion. You are muted.
Director Padi, do we have 1 second for one question?
Yeah, we still have about 5 more minutes.
Yes, I have a question for Barrister personally.
No,
It may
please go
be a
ahead.
rumbling, maybe a rumbling around, but I think I feel it in my spirit that it's necessary. Barrister, we have been talking about referendum. What is the difference, or what is the connotation between the referendum that was held, the fake referendum that was held in 1972, and the referendum that some people are preaching, are seeming to preach today?
I think we have belabored this point. There's something called referendum. There was something called the plebiscite. I can just distinguish the two. The plebiscite was seeking an opinion. Do you wish to do something? And the referendum of 1972 was not asking, you approve this constitution, which has abolished the institutions. But be it a referendum, be it a plebiscite, what we have said here, both of them are popular consultations. They consult the public. And we have said that at this point in time, Ambazonia does not have the institutions to carry out any popular consultation. Call it a plebiscite, call it a referendum, or an ordinary election. Because a lot goes into those things. Organization. What does organization mean? I've said this before. Somebody has to register the voters. Somebody has to agree on the voting age. Does Ambazonia at this time have somebody who will register the voters? No. Does somebody even agree on the voters' age? No. The voters' age and registration are based on some law. Is there any law that says that somebody of this age will vote or will not vote? There's no law like that, at least as far as Ambazonia is concerned. So if you're asking for a referendum, you're asking for Yaoundé to come, because the text that regular popular consultation now, whether we like it or not, in the territory of Ambazonia, are texts of the Republic. Elekam is the one that keeps election registers. Their voting age is 20, based on some law. So until we have our own institutions that will set up the ruling, the organization of any popular consultation, there will be no consultation in any form or shape. And again, not even to talk of a referendum. The referendum proponents sing a song of bringing in the United Nations. What United Nations are they talking about? I've challenged them. Let them tell us a single member state of the United Nations who is going to sponsor a resolution of the United Nations to bring in the United Nations to organize the so-called referendum. There is none. I take the referendum for now. I take the cure from Pandangam, who said it is a freedom of speech. People can talk. People are just talking. It's not going to happen. Quote me. The referendum will never happen. But they are free to talk about it. It is by discussing that they realize their emptiness. For example, they realize that there's nobody who is going to organize it. And I've had a question to say it again.
And,
That
and,
if
and,
the
and,
NS
and thank you very much for bringing that point. I listened to their town hall, and the comment I made after that was like, they are now contradicting themselves. From Tibo Nagi, Dennis Atemken, who came in and he was heralded, we felt that he was going to say something else. I think the town hall they had a few days ago. In fact, they themselves saw that a referendum is not even feasible. If anybody has listened to it, they said it in with their own lips. Barrister Tim, please go ahead and conclude.
and again, I've said it many times, they give very wrong examples. Either because they don't understand or they are not just honest. All the referendums that have been conducted around the world that they have cited, there's none similar to ours. They cite Sudan. South Sudan had a referendum 5 years after they gained autonomy and set up their institutions, the voter registers, and so on. We are not there. Scotland had a referendum. There's a Scottish parliament in the UK that organized their own referendum. They choose the voters. They said everybody from the Commonwealth living here will vote. They prepared to go to the polling stations. It's not like ours. Quebec had a referendum. There's a Quebecois parliament in Canada. They have a
Yeah.
region with an assembly. Do we have any of these things of Quebec, of Southern Sudan, of Scotland? None. None. And I've given so many examples to illustrate that the United Nations does not organize referenda. They come in to help supervise at the request of the country. And I had said that with my own practical experience. The United Nations helped to supervise the elections in Burundi. I was there personally as the United Nations election official. I know the role we played. We didn't organize it. We helped them organize what they had agreed to do. The United Nations helped organize presidential elections in Cote d'Ivoire. I was there. It's not something someone told me. I still have my badge. I was a UN election official. They call it election manager. So I know what role the United Nations played from practical experience, it's not imagination. So all that talk of referendum, again, quote me, is never going to happen. Never. For two reasons, the United Nations is not coming in. But most importantly, because one day, the opposite party that are there is not even on the table for that. So who among the referendum advocates believes that one day, who is not prepared to even listen to you talk about a federation, will come to tell you to organize a referendum to go and get independence? That must be short-sightedness or pure madness. So no referendum is taking place. Quote me. This is my opinion. It's not going to happen for these two reasons. Thank you, madam.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
Mara,
Really,
and just
Amazonian people,
before you go, I want to just say something that's very remarkable. The referendum will not even happen. This is where it is coming from. Let's cite it and say it the way it is. The same people who have failed in Canada, the same people who tried to destroy the Swiss-led mediation, they are the same people who are now talking to themselves. And these same individuals spoke federation to themselves. Now they are speaking a referendum to themselves. And all of it is failing. It indicates one thing. Because they are working for Cameroon, most of them, it's just telling us that Cameroon is not willing for a free or a negotiated settlement yet. Cameroon wants to defeat us. So they can defeat us either by using us and making us to come to a point where they can control, fake it again. Because if we accept a referendum like the president has explained, we will be saying that we are Cameroon. We'll be saying that we never had independence or we have denied the independence. Then we would have used our hands to destroy our future. That is how it starts and ends. So congratulations, Barrister team, for that great insight. Marasha, please.
Let me
Yes,
just add
thank
this
you
point.
very
Oh, let
much.
me just add this one, madam. If the people want to referendum, anybody, let them come to the negotiation table. Face the facts as we put them. Face the law as we
Yes.
put them. Propose the referendum there, and it be debated. But we cannot be proposing solutions when we are the victims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to make a referendum and get justice without and get peace without justice? What a bullshit is that? What will you tell Madam Mama Api? What will you tell Florence Ayafo? They died for what? For a referendum? They didn't even die for a referendum. They died for even they saying that they should be revisit the constitution. Well, they was not even federation. Revisit the constitution. People were killed, and they continue to kill. But again, Paddy, forget about them. All that thing is propaganda. They are not winning. That's why they are suffering, going all and down, going to Canada, going to Grand National Dialogue. If they were winning, they would not be doing that. They themselves don't know how to get out of it. They are ashamed. They are too proud. What we're saying here is public record. They follow us. Let them challenge these facts we are giving. Let them challenge these laws we are quoting. We're talking publicly. They don't have any challenge to them. And so they are ashamed that if you came to the table, they'll be disgraced. But they are just being, they're trying to not to be humans. You may know it. There's a saying in my own country, it applies everywhere. The woman know the high he last, time we one born.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most precious part of woman, but you don't hide it when you are delivering. You expose yourself because that's the truth
Mm-hmm.
that you are going to die
Anytime.
unless you
For the
expose
pain.
yourself to the world. Even if you are delivering in the
Exactly.
street, you get naked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that anybody will go and follow a woman because he saw her delivering and she saw how nice she was. No.
Mm-hmm.
So, La Republic, swallow your pride. Meet us on the negotiation table. Come with your referendum if you so choose to. I will answer you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barrister. And the reason why I really just thought I should ask this referendum question because this is we want to put a final, we want to nail the coffin. We want to put the last nail on the coffin on this issue. Any Amazonian that is parading and dreaming and talking about referendum that is never even coming, with all the reasons that we have given, with all the reasons that you purported as you started the discussion, mentioning it, be you who from wherever, I'm sure you must have done your own cross-examination, you've done your own consultation in your small, small meetings, and you've come to realize that, as Barrister Mbesha said, you are seeing that it is failing. So you have tried all the other ones, it's not working. So you also came up with this one. So it is for us all to do ourselves a favor. There have been a lot of literature, verbal, written, and published in several places, audio messages from different quarters telling us the pros and the cons of this, just talking about this referendum issue. And tomorrow is the 20th May. So we just want to say today is a burial, is the wakekeeping. Tomorrow is burial because it was that day, 51 years ago, when the result of a referendum was falsely announced, and that led people to this bondage that we are here today. And we are saying that we are burying it again. We are burying it. Let no referendum come up anywhere, anytime by anybody, because it is not a way forward for Amazonia. Join your LGA. All of us know where we come from, where you are married, where you were born, where you went to school, where you have your businesses. Join your LGA and begin to do firepower. it will take you a long way than to be joining small, small Congosai groups where it will not take you anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, Director Padi, are you still there? Director, are you there?
Yes, I'd like to just briefly apologize. Professor Epote, who is the mastermind behind this, is requesting for questions, but you saw your panelists were lecturers and they took all the time. They've been on air for 2 hours, 30 minutes, and they've spoken
Mhm.
mostly most of the time. I just believe this was a time for Ambazonians to learn, not even to ask questions that they have been asking before. So we are into the Horizon's time by 8 minutes. The Horizon is supposed to be live now. We have been on air for 2 hours, 35 minutes. We cannot
Oh,
take any questions now since we have to set them up. I just would like to thank all who participated for this program. Barrister Ghana is also going to be in the Horizon, and I think he will also be measuring his talking points on issues related to the fraud surrounding this particular day. So I want to apologize to you, Amazonians, who planned asking questions, and also to the Secretary of State for Education and Strategic Collaboration, that we hope that next time we will have more than
Di- Director
2 hours.
Padi, let me Director Padi, let me interject, please. Tomorrow we continue with this 20th May ban in Ambazonia. There is going to be a part two of this program on Zoom and on ABC. Let's not forget. So let's keep our people informed. Departments will be coming to talk on issues pertaining to the department and how this same 20th May Day has impeded our people to where we are today. So
Okay.
please, there will be a Zoom town hall for everyone. Everyone is invited, and ABC
So
will still be
we are very sure
connecting.
about that. I'm made to understand that it's like the meeting, the president has not ratified, but as soon as that is done, we'll send out the Zoom. It's
Yeah,
like the president
the-
doesn't want us to have a meeting for tomorrow so that we don't give any relevance to it. I cannot confirm this information since I didn't get it from the president directly. But as soon as that is possible, we will send out publicity and the Zoom link for everyone very quickly.
I just thought it was supposed to be a working day for us Amazonians.
Yeah.
So
So
thank you.
if he agrees for that, we will send out the Zoom. But for now, it's tentative.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We would have to round up the program now. And for me to round up, I like to grace. There's an audio going out on social media. Amazonians are pleased about it from Ambassador Henry Fossum, who has made statements. You know, these are, I would say, the patriots, and they are watching and they know who is genuine. Before Molanjo Litumbe passed on, he stood with President Sako because he saw the honesty, the sincerity, and the resilience. He's unwavering. I was reading on Facebook the other day. I saw Barrister Tumasang Martin, who has always been negative towards President Sako, illogically negative, even trying to write something that makes some sense. And he starts by showing us how Akwanga failed in or was the word he used. He says blinked. Blink means stagger, wave, was shaky in their opinion when they were calling for a ceasefire. He spoke of Cho Ayaba blinking. You know, he's the man who used to say, "We will not blink." He likes using language and he betrays himself all the time. Um, we
Turkish.
also saw, we also saw, we also saw uh, another thing like that. So I would like to conclude with this video so that um, we can have Dr. Patience have her show. That will be the end of this show for now.
I am Ambassador Henry Fosun, and I want to make a few things right. What the leader of our war, Samuel Sako Ekame, has explained this morning about referendum, I do agree with him, but I would want to make some records straight. We are a country recognized by the United Nations in a way because the International Court of Justice, ICJ, decided to keep our frontiers safe for us by the request and the writing I made in 1994. And there was a green tree agreement in our territory that the International Court of Justice requested Nigeria and La Republique to agree that they cannot in any way occupy our territory. Because they know that we did achieve the basic objective of the trusteeship system. We were a trusteeship territory, a child of the United Nations. I shall get time to expand on all this for you to know. We are two countries here. Unfortunately for us, even though they tried in all ways, people tried to push us into the arm of La Republique with all fraud. They have failed because La Republique has rejected us in quite a good number of times. I think the war that they brought on us is one of those rejections, and that makes the fifth rejection. The resolution 1608 of the United Nations is a non-starter. That's why I've been calling it a resolution that is null and void. Why? Because Great Britain did not allow our people to participate in it, knowing that we were going to accept to do only what was right. And then, of course, La République du Cameroon and France, their master, voted no against it. When you vote no against a law, that law cannot bind you if your no is accepted and is a principle in accepting or denying that resolution. I could elaborate if there be time. Secondly, this war is meant to do two things. Mr. Biya himself declared that they had tried to assimilate us and failed. It is because they failed to assimilate us by all intrigues and fraud that they decided to wage a war of genocide and annexation. You can see the way they are fighting it. Look at the way they kill our people in Bali. They poisoned them. Look at the way they destroy our villages. Look at the way they have killed us. Look at how they treat pregnant women. And they don't have any feeling for us at all. They have never had it. So therefore, the United Nations knows that we are a free people. Even if you take that resolution, you can see some of the examples of the acceptance that we are a free people. I will elaborate someday. And I think for today, it is enough to say that we are two nations before God and man. We have never had any legal sanction between us since that we started. That we should note. It is right, our brave boys and girls, our sons, great sons, and those making sure that they guide them and provide for them as Sako is doing. I doff my hat to all of you and continue to do what you're doing. No one will take what is ours away. You have decided you're using your bodies to take bullets from an enemy. Don't change it. La République cannot be party to a case and is allowed to be a judge in the same case. We cannot accept it, and we will never accept it. Long live the state of the Southern Cameroon, a sovereign country from 1954. Congratulations to our sons and daughters. You are winning every battle. God is with you. He will continue to be with us till Sako and his interim government guards us to Buya. Congratulations, Sako. Continue.
So this is an endorsement from, I would say, he has the credentials, the moral authority, the intellectual capacity, and whatever you want to put to endorse if this is any vote, I would say this is a vote from a super delegate who is saying that the right man for the job is doing the right thing. He's applauding. You can imagine when you do something good and you pass an exam and you come home during Christmas and what happened. Just so to confirm with y'all, I've just received information right now that the town hall for tomorrow has been affirmed and confirmed. So I am having the Secretary of State for Education and Strategic Collaboration, Professor Porter, who would talk to us for a few minutes, a few seconds, on the program for tomorrow, the town hall for tomorrow with Ambazonians. Right after that, we will move into our studios to meet with Barrister Ghana Valentine and Dr. Patience Abiodun. I'm confident that they will just come to make the evening much more beautiful. So, Prof, you are live on ABC Amber TV. Perhaps you want to just conclude this program for us and maybe tell us more about the town hall for tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Director Paddy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I think Amazonians can hear you as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to begin by giving my appreciation and gratitude to the team that has just spoken to the Ambazonians, Barrister Fu, Prof. Ayin, and of course, our wonderful host, Mara, Shell, and yourself, for having this wonderful educative program, teaching Ambazonians their history and educating them on everything they need to know about Ambazonia and our quest for recognition. As a Department of Education and Strategic Collaboration, it is our duty and our responsibility to make sure that Ambazonians are educated and that they get to know the truth. And that is why we had to put together this program today for our people to get to the roots of the truth about our nation, Ambazonia, to know about the fraudulent we and yes referendum and all the years that have been taking place since 1960, 1961, 1972, name it all. So I want to really appreciate you all for the great job you've done. Tomorrow, I heard you say that tomorrow's town hall is tentative. It's not tentative. Tomorrow's town hall has been endorsed by the President of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Samuel Ekomisako. And so tomorrow we are calling on all Ambazonians to come and join the town hall, and also Mauritius international community, come and join the town hall and listen to the different arms of the interim government. They'll be speaking on issues that will help us to even understand more about Ambazonia, where we are coming from and where we are heading to. So we are calling on everyone to join us tomorrow, 8 p.m. Boya time, and come and listen to the government speak to you. There will be 8 departments of the interim government talking on different aspects of Ambazonian history tomorrow, and you will have opportunity to ask questions and get answers. We look forward to seeing you all there tomorrow. Invite someone and come and get the truth from the horse's mouth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Amazonians. In the next 5 minutes, while we're done with the setup, you'll be watching the Horizon. Stay tuned. Thank you for your contribution.
I am Ambassador Henry Fossum, and I want to make a few things right.